Today, if you have a bad cough, you walk into a store, buy a bottle of cough medicine, and expect relief within hours. It feels so normal that most people never stop to ask a simple question. What did people do before cough medicine existed? The answer is much stranger than you might think. For thousands of years, people desperately searched for ways to stop coughing, but nobody really understood what caused it. Some swallowed strange mixtures made from plants and animal fat. Others trusted remedies that sound completely unbelievable today. At one point, doctors even gave patients drugs that later became some of the most controlled substances in the world. And that is where this story becomes surprising. The history of cough medicine is not really about medicine at all. It is a story about fear, bad ideas, accidental discoveries, and ordinary people willing to try almost anything for a few hours of relief. By the end of this video, you will see why one of the most common bottles in your medicine cabinet has a far stranger history than almost anyone realizes. Most people never think about cough medicine until they need it. A cough starts bothering them, they visit a store, buy a bottle, and expect relief. The entire process feels so normal that it seems like something people have always had. That is the version of the story most of us carry around without ever questioning it. Cough medicine feels like one of those simple products that quietly appeared and solved a common problem. The truth is much stranger than that. For most of human history, there was no cough medicine waiting on a shelf. There was no trusted bottle, no list of ingredients, and no clear understanding of why people were coughing in the first place. A cough was not just an annoying sound interrupting conversations. It could become a serious problem that followed someone for weeks, months, or even years. It could keep people awake at night and make work almost impossible during the day. It could spread fear through families because nobody knew whether a simple cough would disappear or become something much worse. Today, people often think of coughing as a minor inconvenience. In the past, it was often treated as a warning sign that something dangerous might be happening inside the body. The strange part is that people spent thousands of years fighting coughs without understanding what they were actually fighting. They saw the symptom every day, but they could not see the cause. That single problem shaped an enormous part of medical history. A person living today can search the internet and find thousands of explanations for a cough in seconds. For most of history, people had only guesses. Some believed coughing came from bad air. Others believed it came from an imbalance inside the body. Many thought certain foods created the problem. Some believed spiritual forces played a role. Different places had different explanations, but one thing stayed the same. Everyone wanted relief. That desire created a huge market long before modern pharmacies existed. Healers, doctors, merchants, travelers, and ordinary people all claimed they knew the answer. Every generation believed it was getting closer to a solution. Every generation also discovered that the problem was far more complicated than it looked. One of the biggest surprises is that many early remedies sounded reasonable at first. Honey was used by countless people because it could soothe an irritated throat. Warm drinks became popular because they provided temporary comfort. Herbs appeared in remedy after remedy because people believed nature held the answer to every illness. If the story ended there, it would be fairly predictable, but it does not. As the search for relief continued, people started trying increasingly strange treatments. Some remedies included ingredients that would never be allowed in medicine today. Others were based entirely on tradition rather than evidence. Many were passed down through families for generations without anyone knowing whether they actually worked. The goal was never to understand the illness. The goal was simply to make the coughing stop. That desperation led people down some very unusual paths. The strange thing about coughing is that it creates a powerful illusion. When someone takes a remedy and the cough eventually improves, it is easy to believe the treatment worked. But many coughs naturally get better with time. For centuries, people confused coincidence with proof. A remedy might become famous because a few people felt better after using it. Word would spread. More people would try it. Soon, an entire region might believe in a treatment that had never truly been tested. This happened again and again across different countries and different centuries. The result was a giant collection of remedies that ranged from helpful to completely useless. Some were harmless, some were dangerous. A few were both. By the time modern medicine began taking shape, people had already accumulated thousands of years of advice about coughs. Much of that advice contradicted itself. One person recommended a certain ingredient, while another warned against it. One doctor praised a treatment, while another rejected it completely. The average person had no reliable way to know whom to trust. Even trained doctors often disagreed with one another because they were working with incomplete information. Looking back, it is easy to laugh at some of these old ideas. Yet those ideas existed because people were trying to solve a real problem with the limited knowledge they had. They were searching for answers in a world that lacked microscopes, laboratory tests, and modern science. They were trying to understand illnesses they could not see. That challenge shaped every remedy they created. It also explains why the history of cough medicine became so strange. The deeper you look, the less this story resembles a simple medical timeline. It becomes a story about fear, hope, money, mistakes, and human creativity. It becomes a story about people who genuinely believed they had discovered the answer, only to learn later that they were wrong. Some remedies survived for centuries before being questioned. Others became popular almost overnight and disappeared just as quickly. Every generation inherited old beliefs while creating new ones. The result was a never-ending cycle of trial and error. What makes this history even more surprising is that many people assume modern cough medicine appeared after doctors finally understood coughing. That is not what happened. Long before anyone fully understood the causes behind many illnesses, people were already selling products that promised relief. The demand was simply too large to ignore. Millions of people wanted the same thing. They wanted a quiet night of sleep. They wanted relief from constant irritation. They wanted something that worked. That demand would eventually create one of the most surprising industries in medical history. Before scientists uncovered many of the answers we take for granted today, countless remedies had already appeared, disappeared, and been replaced by something even stranger. And some of the most shocking chapters in that story were still waiting to begin. Thousands of years before cough syrup appeared in stores, people were already searching for ways to stop coughing. The problem was simple, but the situation was not. Everyone knew what a cough sounded like, yet nobody truly understood why it happened. People could see the suffering, but they could not see the cause. That single problem shaped centuries of medical history. One of the earliest places where we can trace this search is ancient Egypt. Egyptian healers wrote medical recipes on long sheets of papyrus and carefully recorded treatments for many common illnesses. Some of those recipes included honey, herbs, fruits, and plant extracts designed to calm irritated throats. Honey appeared again and again because people noticed that it often brought temporary relief. They did not know why it helped, but they knew many patients felt better after taking it. That pattern would repeat throughout history. A remedy became popular because it seemed to work, even if nobody understood the reason. Similar ideas appeared in ancient Greece. One of the most famous doctors in history was Hippocrates. Today, many people know his name because doctors still take an oath connected to his legacy. Hippocrates believed illnesses had natural causes rather than supernatural ones. That was a major step forward for his time, yet even he did not know about bacteria or viruses. When patients arrived with persistent coughs, treatments focused on balancing the body rather than attacking an invisible cause. Many Greek remedies combined honey with vinegar or different plant mixtures. Some worked well enough to comfort patients, others probably did very little. The important detail is that doctors were finally trying to create explanations, instead of relying only on superstition. Several centuries later, another influential doctor named Galen became one of the most trusted medical authorities in the Roman world. His ideas spread across Europe, the Middle East, and beyond. Galen believed the body contained different fluids that needed to remain balanced. If those fluids became unbalanced, illness appeared. For many generations, doctors accepted this explanation. As a result, cough treatments focused on restoring balance rather than identifying infections. Looking back, the theory was wrong, yet it remained powerful because nobody had a better explanation. Entire medical systems were built around ideas that seemed logical at the time. While Greek and Roman doctors were developing their own theories, physicians in China and India were following different paths. Chinese medical texts described coughs in great detail and linked them to different conditions within the body. Healers developed large collections of herbs and remedies designed for specific symptoms. Some of those ingredients remain popular today. In India, practitioners of Ayurveda created their own treatments using honey, spices, herbs, and natural ingredients. What makes this remarkable is that civilizations separated by huge distances often arrived at similar conclusions. They all believed coughing was important. They all searched for treatments. They all created remedies based on observation rather than scientific proof. Across the ancient world, people kept reaching for many of the same ingredients. Honey appeared almost everywhere. Certain herbs appeared again and again. Warm liquids remained popular across different cultures. Even though people disagreed about causes, They often agreed about comfort, but comfort and cure were not the same thing. That distinction would create endless confusion. A person might feel better after taking a remedy, while the illness remained unchanged. For centuries, nobody had a reliable way to tell the difference. The problem became even more serious because coughing was connected to some of the most feared diseases in history. Today, a cough often means a cold or mild infection. In earlier centuries, it could signal something much worse. Tuberculosis became one of the deadliest diseases the world had ever seen. Long before doctors understood the disease, people recognized its terrifying symptoms. Persistent coughing became associated with slow decline and death. Families watched loved ones grow weaker over months or years. Entire communities feared the disease, yet nobody truly understood how it spread. That fear created enormous demand for anything promising relief. The more frightening the illness, the more valuable a treatment seemed. This demand attracted not only healers and doctors, but also merchants. People quickly realized there was money to be made from remedies. If someone claimed to possess a special recipe, customers often appeared. Some sellers genuinely believed in their treatments. Others cared more about profits than results. The average person had almost no way to tell the difference. Stories traveled from town to town about miraculous cures. A treatment that seemed successful in one place might become famous somewhere else. Soon, certain remedies gained reputations that lasted for generations. The strange part is that many people trusted these treatments because they had little choice. Doing something felt better than doing nothing. Every civilization inherited remedies from previous generations. Parents taught them to children, healers taught them to apprentices, doctors copied them into medical texts. Over time, these remedies gained authority simply because they had existed for so long. Few people stopped to ask whether they truly worked. Tradition itself became evidence. If a remedy survived for centuries, many assumed it must be effective. That belief helped preserve countless treatments long after their origins were forgotten. By the Middle Ages, the collection of cough remedies had become enormous. Some treatments were based on careful observation. Others came from folklore and local traditions. A patient could receive completely different advice depending on where they lived. One healer might recommend a plant mixture, while another preferred animal products. A third might suggest an entirely different approach. Yet all of them were trying to solve the same problem. They were fighting a symptom whose real causes remained hidden. The deeper people searched for answers, the larger the collection of remedies became. What started as simple attempts to soothe a sore throat gradually evolved into a vast industry of treatments, theories, recipes, and promises. Generations of doctors believed they were moving closer to a solution. In reality, they were still missing one critical piece of the puzzle. They could see coughing, they could hear it, they could describe it in detail, but they still did not understand the invisible enemies causing many illnesses. That missing knowledge would eventually lead medicine down a completely unexpected path, and the next chapter would introduce substances that seemed almost magical because they actually stopped coughing. Unfortunately, those miracle treatments came with dangers nobody fully understood at the time. For thousands of years, people searched for cough remedies with limited success. Some treatments brought comfort for a short time, while others did almost nothing. Then something appeared that seemed completely different. For the first time, people discovered substances that could actually reduce coughing in a noticeable way. The effect was so powerful that many believed medicine had finally found the answer. What nobody realized was that this breakthrough would create an entirely new problem. The story begins with opium. Long before modern pharmaceutical companies existed, people already knew about the opium poppy. Various civilizations had used it for centuries because of its powerful effects on pain and discomfort. Over time, doctors noticed something important. Patients who received opium often coughed less. Unlike many traditional remedies, the results were difficult to ignore. The relief felt real. People who had struggled with constant coughing sometimes experienced hours of comfort. That kind of result attracted attention very quickly. During the 17th century, an English physician named Thomas Sydenham became one of the most respected doctors in Europe. Sydenham believed doctors should carefully observe patients rather than rely only on old theories. He spent years studying illnesses and looking for practical treatments. One of the medicines associated with his work was laudanum, a mixture containing opium dissolved in alcohol. Laudanum soon became extremely popular. Doctors prescribed it for many different conditions. Patients used it for pain, sleep problems, stomach issues, and persistent coughing. The medicine seemed almost magical compared to many older remedies. People trusted it because it produced noticeable effects. For a patient exhausted by weeks of coughing, that relief could feel life-changing. As laudanum spread across Europe and later other parts of the world, its reputation continued growing. Families kept bottles at home. Doctors recommended it regularly. Merchants sold it widely. Many people viewed it as a reliable medical tool rather than a dangerous substance. The problem was that few understood its risks. Patients focused on relief because relief was exactly what they needed. The dangers remained hidden until much later. The popularity of opium-based medicines revealed something important about human nature. When people suffer long enough, they become willing to accept significant risks for relief. A person kept awake night after night by constant coughing often cared more about immediate comfort than future consequences. This made opium-based medicines extremely attractive. They offered something many earlier remedies could not provide. They appeared to work. As the 18th century turned into the 19th century, the use of opium continued expanding. Medical knowledge was improving in some areas, but doctors still lacked many answers. Germs had not yet become part of everyday medical understanding. Effective antibiotics did not exist. Many serious illnesses remained difficult or impossible to treat. In that environment, symptom relief became incredibly valuable. If a medicine reduced pain or coughing, doctors often considered that a success. The deeper problem remained unsolved, but patients felt better. That seemed good enough. At first glance, the story appears straightforward. Doctors found a substance that reduced coughing and began using it. The reality was much stranger. As demand increased, opium products became available in many forms. Some were sold by physicians, others were sold directly to the public. Different products claimed different benefits. Advertising grew more aggressive, promises became larger, competition increased. The line between medicine and business started becoming blurred. Some sellers cared about helping patients, others cared mainly about making money. Both groups benefited from public demand. Meanwhile, another problem slowly emerged. Patients who used opium regularly often wanted more. Some found it difficult to stop. Others experienced serious side effects. Yet the connection was not always obvious. Many people blamed themselves rather than the medicine. Others simply continued taking it because the alternative felt worse. The same substance that reduced coughing was creating new forms of dependence. This development placed doctors in a difficult position. They could see the benefits. They could also see the growing problems. Patients genuinely experienced relief. At the same time, increasing numbers struggled after long-term use. Medicine had not solved the original challenge. It had merely exchanged one problem for another. This realization unfolded slowly because nobody fully understood addiction as we understand it today. Doctors worked with the knowledge available to them. Some remained enthusiastic supporters of opium-based treatments. Others became increasingly concerned. Debates began appearing within medical circles. The search for a safer solution gained momentum. The situation became even more complicated because coughing remained extremely common. Large numbers of people continued suffering from respiratory illnesses. Tuberculosis alone affected millions. Persistent coughing remained one of the most recognizable symptoms. Doctors desperately wanted something effective and safe. Patients wanted relief without harmful consequences. Both groups were searching for the same answer. Unfortunately, the answer had not yet arrived. During the 19th century, scientific progress accelerated. Chemistry became more advanced. Researchers began isolating specific substances from plants and studying their effects. This opened entirely new possibilities. Instead of relying on traditional mixtures, scientists hoped they could create more precise medicines. Some believed chemistry would eliminate the dangers associated with older treatments. Others believed a breakthrough was just around the corner. The optimism was understandable. Science seemed capable of solving problems that had frustrated humanity for centuries. Yet, history often moves in unexpected directions. The search for a safer cough treatment would soon produce one of the most surprising chapters in medical history. Researchers and pharmaceutical companies became convinced they had discovered something better than opium. They believed they had found a modern scientific solution that would provide relief without the same dangers. Doctors welcomed the idea. Patients welcomed it even more. What happened next would transform cough medicine forever and create a story that sounds almost impossible today. The new miracle treatment would soon be advertised to families, prescribed by physicians, and praised as a safer replacement for older drugs. For a brief moment, many people believed the problem had finally been solved. They had no idea they were about to repeat the same mistake on an even larger scale. By the end of the 19th century, doctors knew they had a problem. Opium-based medicines could reduce coughing, but they also created serious risks. Patients depended on them. Families kept using them. Doctors continued prescribing them because they had few alternatives. Everyone wanted something safer. Everyone wanted a medicine that could provide relief without creating new problems. That search led directly to one of the strangest moments in medical history. In 1897, A young chemist named Felix Hoffmann was working for the German company Bayer. Hoffmann is often remembered for his work connected to aspirin, but another project would become far more controversial. Bayer scientists were looking for substances that could replace older drugs while providing similar benefits. During this period, researchers created a new drug derived from morphine. The company gave it a name that sounded strong and confident. That name was heroin. Today, the word immediately creates alarm. People associate it with addiction, crime, and tragedy. At the time, the reaction was completely different. Many doctors believed heroin represented progress. Some even believed it was safer than the medicines already being used. That idea sounds unbelievable today, but it made sense to many people living at the time. Medical science was advancing quickly. Chemistry was producing new substances. Companies were introducing modern products that appeared more refined than older remedies. Heroin arrived during a period when many people trusted scientific breakthroughs. Bayer began promoting heroin for several medical uses, including cough treatment. The results seemed impressive. Patients often experienced significant relief. Doctors saw coughing decrease. Medical journals discussed its potential. Optimism spread rapidly. For many physicians, heroin looked like the answer they had been searching for. It seemed modern, effective, and reliable. Even more importantly, some believed it could help people who were already dependent on morphine. Instead of creating a new problem, heroin was presented as a solution to an existing one. This claim would become one of the biggest mistakes in pharmaceutical history. As heroin prescriptions increased, doctors and patients initially focused on the benefits. Relief came quickly. Coughing often decreased. Sleep improved. People who had been struggling with constant symptoms felt better. These positive experiences helped build trust. Once trust appeared, demand followed. More doctors prescribed the drug. More pharmacies stocked it. More families became familiar with the name. The speed of its rise was remarkable. Within a relatively short period, heroin became one of the most discussed new medicines in the medical world. The strange part is that many advertisements openly promoted it. Modern audiences often imagine dangerous drugs existing only in secret markets. The reality was almost the opposite. Heroin was discussed in medical settings and sold through legitimate channels. It was not viewed as a hidden threat. It was viewed as a promising product. That perception allowed it to spread much further than most people realize. Some cough medicines and treatments contained ingredients that would shock modern consumers. Yet at the time, many people trusted these products because doctors, companies, and medical publications supported them. The situation reveals how different the world looked before modern drug regulations. Today, new medicines undergo extensive testing before reaching the public. During the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the process looked very different. Knowledge often developed after products were already being used. In many cases, society learned about risks only when large numbers of people experienced them firsthand. That is exactly what happened with heroin. As more patients used the drug, troubling patterns began to appear. Doctors noticed dependence developing. Reports described patients who struggled without the medicine. The same concerns that had surrounded morphine started appearing again. The promised solution was beginning to resemble the original problem. Researchers gradually realized that heroin was not the safe alternative many had hoped for. Instead, it could create powerful dependence of its own. This discovery transformed the entire conversation. What had been celebrated as a breakthrough suddenly looked much more dangerous. Trust began eroding. Medical opinions shifted. Concerns grew louder. The miracle cure was losing its shine. Yet the story did not end overnight. Products do not disappear instantly when problems emerge. Companies, doctors, and patients often need time to adjust. Some continued believing in heroin's benefits. Others pushed for restrictions. Debates intensified as evidence continued growing. The medical community found itself facing an uncomfortable reality. Years of excitement had been built on assumptions that turned out to be wrong. The search for a safer cough treatment had accidentally produced another dangerous drug. Looking back, this moment reveals a larger pattern that appears throughout medical history. People solve one problem only to discover another waiting behind it. The desire for relief drives innovation. Innovation creates new possibilities. Those possibilities sometimes create consequences nobody expected. The heroin story became one of the clearest examples of this cycle. The same substance that looked like a triumph eventually became a warning. It showed how easily good intentions could lead to unexpected outcomes. As restrictions increased and medical understanding improved, heroin gradually lost its place as an accepted cough treatment. The era of openly promoting it as a medical breakthrough came to an end. Yet the damage to its reputation was only part of the story. The larger impact was psychological. Doctors became more cautious. Researchers became more careful. Pharmaceutical companies faced growing pressure to prove that new products were actually safe. Medicine had learned a difficult lesson. Relief alone was not enough. A treatment also needed to avoid creating bigger problems in the future. This realization pushed researchers toward a new goal. Instead of searching for substances that simply stopped coughing, they began looking for options that balanced effectiveness with safety. The challenge proved far more difficult than expected. Patients still needed relief. Doctors still needed tools. The demand had not disappeared, only the confidence had disappeared. The collapse of the heroin solution forced medicine back to the drawing board. Once again, the world needed a better answer. Once again, scientists believed they were getting closer. But before truly modern cough medicines arrived, people would pass through another strange chapter filled with questionable products, bold promises, aggressive advertising, and remedies that ranged from helpful to completely absurd. As medical experts slowly moved away from heroin and other risky drugs, another strange reality became impossible to ignore. Millions of people still needed relief from coughing, but there was no perfect solution waiting in the background. This created a huge opportunity for companies, salesmen, pharmacists, and inventors. The result was one of the most unusual periods in the history of medicine. Store shelves filled with products that promised comfort, faster recovery, and better health. Some of these remedies helped a little. Some helped a lot. Others were little more than clever marketing wrapped inside attractive packaging. During the late 19th and early 20th centuries, cough remedies appeared everywhere. Newspapers carried advertisements for them. Posters promoted them. Traveling salesmen praised them in front of crowds. Product names often sounded scientific and trustworthy. Companies understood something very important. Most customers could not test medical claims themselves. If a product looked professional and promised relief, people were willing to try it, especially when they had already spent days or weeks dealing with constant coughing. One popular category of products was cough lozenges. These small candies were easy to carry and simple to use. Some contained ingredients that soothed the throat and reduced irritation. Others relied mainly on sugar, flavoring, and advertising. Customers often believed they were receiving powerful medicine, even when the actual effects were limited. Yet the popularity of lozenges continued growing because they were convenient. People enjoyed the feeling of doing something rather than waiting for symptoms to disappear on their own. Another surprising remedy involved tar. Today, most people associate tar with roads and construction. In the past, some doctors believed tar products could help respiratory problems. Certain treatments encouraged patients to inhale vapors connected to tar-based substances. The idea sounds unusual now, but many people trusted it because respected figures supported it. Medical understanding remained incomplete, and treatments often reflected the best guesses available at the time. Some patients reported feeling better. Others noticed little change. The uncertainty never stopped demand. Mustard plasters became another popular treatment. These were placed directly on the body and created a warming sensation. Supporters believed they helped draw illness away from deeper parts of the body. Families used them for many conditions, including coughs. The experience could be uncomfortable, but discomfort sometimes increased confidence. People often assumed that if a treatment felt strong, it must be working. This belief helped many questionable remedies survive for years. Onions also earned a place in the long history of cough treatments. Different families prepared onion mixtures using recipes passed down through generations. Some combined onions with honey. Others created syrups using sugar and sliced onions. These remedies appeared in many households because the ingredients were affordable and easy to find. Interestingly, some of these homemade treatments may have provided limited relief, yet people rarely knew exactly why. The line between tradition and medicine remained blurry. The deeper people searched for relief, the stranger some remedies became. Certain products included secret ingredients that companies refused to reveal. Manufacturers claimed their formulas were special and valuable. Customers had no way to verify those claims. A bottle could contain helpful ingredients, ineffective ingredients, or a combination of both. Many consumers simply trusted the promises printed on labels. Regulations were far weaker than they are today. That allowed companies to make claims that would never survive modern review. Some advertisements promised results that bordered on the unbelievable. A product might claim to calm coughs, improve sleep, increase strength, and restore overall health at the same time. The more impressive the promise sounded, the more attention it attracted. Competition pushed companies to become increasingly creative. Some products featured dramatic testimonials from satisfied customers. Others displayed endorsements from doctors. Whether those endorsements reflected broad medical agreement was often difficult to determine. Marketing sometimes moved faster than evidence. One of the most fascinating details from this period is how strongly appearance influenced trust. Customers often judged products by packaging rather than ingredients. An elegant bottle created confidence. A professional label suggested quality. Attractive advertising implied effectiveness. Modern consumers still behave this way in many situations, but the effect was especially powerful when medical information was difficult to access. Most people simply lacked the tools needed to investigate claims independently. The rise of mass advertising changed the entire market. Before newspapers reached large audiences, local remedies remained local. Now successful products could spread across entire countries. A company no longer needed to convince a single town. It could target millions of potential customers at once. This transformed cough remedies into a major business. The larger the audience became, the larger the profits became. Financial incentives encouraged even more products to enter the market. Not every remedy was useless. Some genuinely helped people feel better. Honey continued appearing because many users found it soothing. Certain plant ingredients provided temporary comfort. Warm liquids remained popular because they reduced irritation for some patients. The challenge was separating effective treatments from ineffective ones. Reliable testing remained limited. Consumers often relied on reputation, word of mouth, and advertising. That combination produced endless confusion. What makes this chapter particularly strange is that people often trusted remedies for reasons unrelated to science. A treatment might become popular because a respected neighbor recommended it. A family might continue using a recipe because grandparents had used it decades earlier. A product might sell well because its advertisement sounded convincing. Human psychology shaped medical choices just as strongly as evidence, in some cases, even more strongly. By the early 20th century, pressure for change was increasing. Scientists were improving their understanding of disease. Medical research was becoming more organized. Governments began paying closer attention to what companies were selling. Consumers also became more skeptical after seeing miracle cures fail to deliver miraculous results. Gradually, the environment started changing. The age of secret formulas and unlimited claims began losing ground. Medicine was entering a new phase where proof mattered more than promises. Yet the strange era of cough remedies left a lasting legacy. It revealed how far people were willing to go in search of relief. It revealed how easily hope could influence judgment. Most importantly, it revealed that the battle against coughing was never only about medicine. It was also about trust. People needed to know which treatments deserved confidence and which deserved caution. Solving that problem would require something far more powerful than another new product. It would require understanding what actually caused many coughs in the first place. And that discovery would completely change the story. For most of this story, people were fighting something they could not see. They knew coughing existed. They knew some illnesses spread through families and communities. They knew certain diseases could destroy lives. What they did not know was why. Every remedy, every treatment, and every medical theory was limited by that missing piece of knowledge. Then the situation began to change. During the 19th century, a new generation of scientists started uncovering facts that would transform medicine forever. One of the most important figures was Louis Pasteur. Pasteur was not trying to create cough medicine. He was studying problems connected to food, fermentation, and disease. Yet his work helped reveal a revolutionary idea. Tiny living organisms could cause illness. This sounds obvious today because children learn it in school. At the time, it challenged many beliefs that had existed for centuries. People had spent generations blaming bad air, body imbalances, and other explanations. Pasteur helped show that invisible organisms played a much larger role than anyone had imagined. Around the same period, another scientist named Robert Koch made discoveries that pushed medicine even further forward. Koch developed methods for identifying specific germs linked to specific diseases. This was a major breakthrough because it moved medicine away from guesswork. Doctors could now begin connecting symptoms to actual causes. For the first time, the fight against illness started becoming more precise. The impact of these discoveries reached far beyond cough medicine. Entire medical systems began changing. Hospitals changed, research changed, public health changed. The understanding of disease changed. Yet one of the most interesting consequences involved something surprisingly simple. People gradually realized that a cough was not the main problem. A cough was often a signal. The real problem was whatever caused the cough. This shift sounds small, but it completely changed the direction of medicine. For centuries, doctors had focused on stopping the symptom. Now they increasingly focused on understanding the illness behind it. Consider tuberculosis. For generations, it had terrified communities around the world. Patients often suffered from severe coughing for long periods. Families watched loved ones become weaker and weaker. Many people assumed tuberculosis developed because of bad living conditions, weak constitutions, or mysterious forces nobody understood. Then Robert Koch identified the bacterium responsible for the disease. Suddenly, one of history's most feared illnesses looked different. Scientists now had a target. The disease had not become less dangerous overnight, but understanding its cause changed everything. The same pattern appeared with other illnesses. Instead of simply asking how to stop coughing, doctors increasingly asked why the coughing started. This change created enormous progress. It also revealed something surprising. Many traditional remedies had never addressed the real cause of illness. They had focused on comfort rather than cure. Comfort remained important, but it was no longer the entire goal. Medicine was growing more ambitious. Researchers wanted treatments that solved problems instead of temporarily hiding them. The effect on everyday life was enormous. As scientific knowledge improved, cities began introducing public health measures designed to reduce disease. Water systems improved, sanitation improved, medical education improved. Governments became more involved in protecting public health. Many of these changes had little to do with cough medicine directly, yet they affected coughing on a massive scale. Fewer infections meant fewer people developing symptoms in the first place. This represented a completely different way of thinking. Instead of constantly treating illness, society began investing more effort in preventing it. The pharmaceutical industry also changed dramatically during this period. Companies realized that future success depended on research and testing. Simply making bold claims was no longer enough. Consumers expected evidence. Doctors demanded better information. Governments introduced regulations that forced manufacturers to follow stricter standards. The result was a new generation of medicines developed through scientific study rather than tradition alone. This did not mean every problem disappeared. Researchers still faced difficult challenges. Coughing remained one of the most common symptoms in the world. Different illnesses caused different kinds of coughs. Some treatments worked better than others. Debate continued about which medicines provided the greatest benefit. Yet the conversation had fundamentally changed. The focus was no longer centered entirely on symptoms. It was centered on understanding the body itself. One of the most important developments involved antibiotics during the 20th century. These drugs transformed medicine by helping doctors treat bacterial infections that once caused enormous suffering. Conditions that had previously led to serious complications became more manageable. Not every cough required antibiotics, and many coughs resulted from viruses rather than bacteria. Even so, the arrival of effective treatments for certain infections dramatically reduced the burden of disease. The world that had once relied on honey, tar, mustard plasters, and secret formulas was becoming increasingly scientific. The scale of this transformation is difficult to overstate. For thousands of years, humanity had been trapped in a cycle of observation and guesswork. People noticed symptoms and experimented with treatments. Sometimes they succeeded. Often they failed. Now, medicine possessed tools capable of revealing hidden causes. Microscopes exposed worlds that earlier generations never knew existed. Laboratories produced evidence instead of assumptions. Doctors could compare results, share findings, and build knowledge much faster than before. The story of cough medicine, therefore, becomes much larger than a story about coughing. It becomes a story about how humanity learned to look beneath the surface. A cough once seemed like the central problem because it was visible and disruptive. Scientific progress revealed that symptoms often tell only part of the story. Understanding causes creates opportunities that symptom relief alone can never provide. This realization changed medicine, but it also changed society. Millions of people lived longer because diseases became easier to identify. Public health improved because causes became easier to understand. Entire industries emerged around research and development. The simple act of coughing connected ordinary people to one of the biggest scientific revolutions in human history. What began as a search for relief ultimately helped drive a much larger transformation. The world was no longer asking only how to stop a cough. It was finally learning how to understand the illnesses that produced it. That shift would shape every generation that followed and leave a legacy far larger than any bottle of medicine sitting on a store shelf. Today, a bottle of cough medicine feels almost invisible. It sits on a shelf, waits inside a cabinet, and becomes important only when someone gets sick. Most people never stop to think about how unusual that bottle really is. They see a simple product designed to relieve a common symptom. What they do not see is the long chain of mistakes, discoveries, fears, and unexpected turns that made it possible. Every bottle represents thousands of years of people trying to solve the same problem. A person begins coughing and wants relief. That basic human experience has remained unchanged across civilizations, kingdoms, empires, and modern nations. The methods changed, but the goal never did. Looking back at the story, one detail stands out more than any other. Humanity spent most of its history fighting coughs without understanding them. Ancient healers created remedies based on observation. Greek doctors developed theories about balance within the body. Roman physicians expanded those ideas and spread them across large parts of the world. Families passed recipes from one generation to another because they believed experience was the best teacher available. In many cases, those people acted reasonably based on what they knew. The problem was not a lack of effort. The problem was a lack of information. They were trying to solve a puzzle while missing several important pieces. That missing knowledge created centuries of confusion. Some remedies helped because they soothed irritation. Others appeared successful because illnesses improved naturally over time. People often struggled to tell the difference. A treatment that seemed effective became part of tradition. Tradition became trust. Trust became history. Entire generations inherited beliefs that nobody had properly tested. This pattern continued for centuries because there was no better system available. Then came one of the strangest twists in the entire story. After thousands of years of limited success, people finally discovered substances that truly reduced coughing. Instead of celebrating a perfect solution, they accidentally created new dangers. Opium offered relief but brought serious consequences. Heroin arrived as a supposed improvement and repeated the same mistake on an even larger scale. One of the most surprising facts in medical history remains difficult to believe. A drug now associated with addiction and tragedy was once promoted as a modern answer to coughing. People trusted it because respected experts trusted it. That detail reveals how uncertain medicine still was at the time. Knowledge was growing, but many important lessons had not yet been learned. The rise and fall of these treatments changed more than cough medicine. It changed the way society viewed medical claims. Doctors became more cautious. Researchers demanded stronger evidence. Consumers gradually became more skeptical. The era of accepting promises without proof slowly began fading away. Yet even after these lessons, the search for relief continued. Store shelves filled with lozenges, syrups, secret formulas, and products making ambitious promises. Some provided genuine comfort. Others relied more on marketing than effectiveness. This period exposed another important truth. People are willing to try almost anything when discomfort lasts long enough. Hope has always been one of the strongest forces in medicine. Hope convinced people to trust remedies, buy products, and believe claims that often stretched far beyond reality. The story changed dramatically when scientists like Louis Pasteur and Robert Koch helped uncover the hidden causes of disease. Their discoveries shifted attention away from symptoms and toward underlying problems. This was the moment the entire battle transformed. A cough stopped being viewed as the enemy itself. Instead, it became a clue pointing toward something deeper. That single change reshaped medicine. Researchers could now ask better questions and search for better answers. The impact spread far beyond coughs. It affected hospitals, laboratories, public health systems, and pharmaceutical research. Modern medicine grew from this new understanding. What makes the history of cough medicine so fascinating is its hidden scale. At first glance, the topic seems small. A cough appears ordinary and temporary, yet following its history leads directly into some of humanity's biggest struggles. The story touches ancient civilizations, famous physicians, scientific revolutions, global industries, and major public health changes. A simple symptom connects to an enormous network of discoveries and decisions. That connection is easy to miss because the final product looks so ordinary. The bottle on a modern shelf does not reveal the strange path behind it. It does not reveal ancient recipes written thousands of years ago. It does not reveal doctors debating theories that later proved incorrect. It does not reveal the years when heroin was considered a medical breakthrough. It does not reveal the salesman promising miracle cures, or the scientists working to uncover invisible causes of disease. Yet all of those stories help shape what exists today. Perhaps the most interesting lesson is how often progress arrived from unexpected directions. Many of the people who changed this story were not trying to create modern cough medicine. They were solving different problems. Some studied chemistry, others studied disease. Some wanted safer drugs, others wanted better explanation. Their work combined in ways nobody could fully predict. That is often how history unfolds. Small decisions connect together until they create results much larger than anyone expected. In the end, the history of cough medicine is not really about a bottle, a syrup, or a single treatment. It is the story of countless people searching for relief while slowly learning how the human body actually works. It is the story of wrong turns that still produced useful lessons. It is the story of confidence, mistakes, hope, and discovery. Most of all, it is a reminder that even the most ordinary objects often hide extraordinary histories. The next time someone reaches for cough medicine, they are holding the final chapter of a story that began thousands of years ago, with people facing the exact same problem and desperately searching for an answer.